Hello, good evening, Sharai. How are you?
Hi, teacher. Good evening. I'm fine. How are you?
Hello. Great. That's great, Sharai. Everything is fine over here. So let's begin today's conversation. All right, with a quick reminder that the third unit has been assigned as every week. Okay, so you have until next Monday to complete that third unit and continue the same pattern that we were following. Now, with that reminder, I'm going to start sharing my screen as I always do to start with today's conversation, which is going to be about being bilingual. And there you go. You should be able to see it now. So, this is today's topic, Sharai. It's going to be a little bit different. It says the benefits of being, or sorry, of a bilingual brain, or you can say the benefits of being bilingual. We're going to try to understand what benefits, okay, this kind of ability is going to bring to people who are able to do it. I'm going to begin it with the introduction very fast, and we're going to start talking about it. All right, so let me turn up the volume. All right, let's do it.
Hablas español? Parlez-vous français? 你会说中文吗? If you answered sí, oui, or 会, and you're watching this in English, chances are you belong to the world's bilingual and multilingual majority. And besides having an easier time traveling or watching movies without subtitles, knowing two or more languages means that your brain may actually look and work differently than those of your monolingual friends. So, what does it really mean to know a language? Language ability is typically measured in two active parts, speaking and writing, and two passive parts, listening and reading. While a balanced bilingual has near equal abilities across the board in two languages, most bilinguals around the world know and use their languages in varying proportions. And depending on their situation and how they acquired each language, they can be classified into three general types.
Okay, so before going to those types, all right, let's talk about the introduction first, please, Sharai. What did you get about this introduction?
Well, at the beginning, I could understand that there are some benefits of a bilingual person, and you could see in their brains the difference between a person who is monolingual and the between and the person who is bilingual or multilingual. Another thing that I can mention is there are an um, active, I don't know, active what exactly, but the speaking and writing are active, I don't know the next word, and the passive, it's listening and reading. This is for the introduction.
Okay, very good. Let's go to that part to see what are those words that you want to say. All right, so yes, but it's divided like in two parts, right? In one part, you're going to locate some skills, and in the other one, some other skills. So let's try to listen one more time, just that part, and let's understand what is that about. Let me look for it. Give me 1 second. I'm going to look for the exact part in which they describe it. All right, it must be over here. Okay, let's pay attention from this part one more time.
Your brain may actually look and work differently than those of your monolingual friends. So, what does it really mean to know a language? Language ability is typically measured in two active parts, speaking and writing.
Right? They are just saying as active parts over here. We're going to see if they use a different word.
And two passive parts, listening and reading. While a balanced bilingual has near equal abilities across the board in two languages, most bilinguals around the world know and use their languages in varying proportions.
All right, and then they are going to mention something different, right? The difference between being balanced in terms of bilingualism, but most people are not going to be balanced, right? Most people are going to use languages, right, in different proportions. That's why most people are not considered like balanced bilinguals, right? Because they may be using Spanish 90% of the time, English 10% of the time, or something like that, right? So it depends. Of course, it depends, but yes. Then, as you can see, the word that this person was using was only parts, right? The active parts and the passive parts, but you got it very well. So I'm going to go to the last part then, Sharai, to continue with this, because in this part, I'm going to ask some extra questions. All right, that was the introduction. Now, let's go to see the types of, all right, being bilingual. Let me start from this part. Okay.
It can be classified into three general types. For example, let's take Gabriella, whose family immigrates to the US from Peru when she's 2 years old. As a compound bilingual, Gabriella develops two linguistic codes simultaneously with a single set of concepts, learning both English and Spanish as she begins to process the world around her. Her teenage brother, on the other hand, might be a coordinate bilingual, working with two sets of concepts, learning English in school while continuing to speak Spanish at home and with friends. Finally, Gabriella's parents are likely to be subordinate bilinguals, who learn a secondary language by filtering it through their primary language. Because all types of bilingual
All right. So until that part, right? This is very interesting. I think it's very important also to recognize perhaps what type we can be to identify what are going to be like the characteristics, all right, of learning a language in a different way. You are able to see here, right, that there are different ways of learning. I'm going to play this part one more time, and you're going to be telling me, please, Sharai, first, you're going to explain briefly, right, what are these three types about? And secondly, you're going to tell me which one you identify, all right? If you believe that you're one of those three types, which one and why? I'm going to play it one more time first, and then you're going to be answering those questions. So let's take a look at that one more time.
For example, let's take Gabriella, whose family immigrates to the US from Peru when she's 2 years old. As a compound bilingual, Gabriella develops two linguistic codes simultaneously with a single set of concepts, learning both English and Spanish as she begins to process the world around her. Her teenage brother, on the other hand, might be a coordinate bilingual, working with two sets of concepts, learning English in school while continuing to speak Spanish at home and with friends. Finally, Gabriella's parents are likely to be subordinate bilinguals, who learn a secondary language by filtering it through their primary language. Because all types
All right. So that was the second time. So what do you say, Sharai? First, try to explain, please, what do you understand with these three types, all right, of bilingualism? And secondly, try to tell me which one you believe you are and why.
Yeah, I understand the three types, but I don't know if I can explain as the video said, but I will try. The
Okay.
first one is compounds. And the example is from from Gabriela, which grow with two languages simultaneously, I think. Then the second one is coordinated. It's from his brother, his old brother. He learned English in the school, and he improved, I can say, the English or the second language with her friends or something like that in the school. And the subordinated, I don't understand a lot with this type, but what I can hear in the video, it mentioned their parents filter it from the primary language from their primary language, I think. This is the three types. And for the second question, I identify with the coordinated, the second type, because I
Okay.
learn English in the school. I take a lot of English classes and that.
Good. Great. I think that was a great way of explaining that, Sharai. I know that sometimes they use very specific words, but I know that you all have the tools that you need to explain this kind of information, and you did it great. All right, so I'm just going to give you some details to perhaps being more precise on that, but it was great. I agree with you. All right, the first one, yes, the little girl. The main characteristic, right, about the first type is that she's learning, right, both languages with only one set of concepts. It means that she is not going to have one concept for Spanish and one concept for English. No, she's going to learn the languages, right, by understanding the object. And of course, this is what we all want, right? That's the purest, if you want to say it, all right? That's the most basic, but the most like effective way of learning a language, of course. The second one is also very good, and you said it very well. It's related to school, but what is the difference? That her brother, right, is using not only one set of concepts. Her brother is using two sets of concepts. So he is learning English with English concepts and Spanish with Spanish concepts. And of course, he gets to practice both languages, right? Perhaps English at school or some other places in which he speaks English, and Spanish at home, right? Or with any relatives that he may have. And of course, the main difference is with the last one. What happens with the last type is that the parents use Spanish all the time. The set of concepts that they use are Spanish concepts, and they can only learn English by using Spanish. Not only translating, but trying to understand Spanish through Spanish concepts, right? For example, what is a dog, right? They need to understand the concept of a dog in Spanish and then try to make a reference between those two. All right, and that's the last one. And yeah, I would agree that there are different ways of learning English. Of course, some of them are going to be more effective, but at the end, if you get to learn very well, any of those can be effective. Now, I'm just going to show you one last thing before going to, well, before finishing and going to the conclusion. They are going to mention something about this, the difference between in the brain, all right, and some characteristics that are important. Let me play it for you.
How specific aspects of language learning affect the bilingual brain. It's well known that the brain's left hemisphere is more dominant in analytical and logical processes, while the right hemisphere is more active in emotional and social ones. Though this is a matter of degree, not an absolute split. The fact that language involves both types of functions, while lateralization develops gradually with age, has led to the critical period hypothesis. According to this theory, children learn languages more easily because the plasticity of their developing brains lets them use both hemispheres in language acquisition. While in most adults, language is lateralized to one hemisphere, usually the left. If this is true, learning a language in childhood may give you a more holistic grasp of its social and emotional contexts. Conversely, recent research showed that people who learned a second language in adulthood exhibit less emotional bias and a more rational approach when confronting problems in the second language than in their native one.
All right, until that part, I'm going to play one more time, all right, because I think it's interesting to understand that. And you're going to try to explain it just in general, Sharai, what you were able to get from this part, all right? Let's pay attention then to this critical period hypothesis.
While in most adults, language is lateralized to
Sorry,
the
from this
critical period hypothesis.
Good.
According to this theory, children learn languages more easily because the plasticity of their developing brains lets them use both hemispheres in language acquisition. While in most adults, language is lateralized to one hemisphere, usually the left. If this is true, learning a language in childhood may give you a more holistic grasp of its social and emotional contexts. Conversely, recent research showed that people who learned a second language in adulthood exhibit less emotional bias and a more rational approach when confronting problems in the second language than in their native one.
All right, so until that part, what can you tell me about this last part of the video, Sharai? What do you understand?
Well, it's something that I heard very years ago, and I think it's true. It mentions that a baby or a children has a brains children or have more plasticity to. I think it's to get to understand a new languages. Uh, um, it's an adult brain only have only work to learn a new language in one hemisphere. I think that.
Okay, and we can also add, right? The interesting part is that they say that when you learn this, right, when you are a child, it's most likely that you're going to be able to relate, right, language to emotions. But in adults, it doesn't happen that much. It's going to be more analytical, right? As you were mentioning very well, that's because we were only using one hemisphere, right? And that's going to let us only use the analytical side, perhaps, of it. Okay, so good. I think that was great, Sharai. Again, it was to see some new words, to try to understand new ideas. That's going to be it for today. Thanks for being in today's conversation, and I'll see you tomorrow for the class, Sharai.
Okay, teacher. Bye. See you. Thank you very much.
Bye bye. Good night. Hello, Lourdes. Good evening. How are you?
Hi, teacher. I'm fine, thank you.
That's great. Let's begin the conversation, Lourdes. We're going to continue watching the last video, right? Remember, it was There's No Luck, Only Good Marketing, in which this guy, right, which is German, was explaining, right, the main idea behind why sometimes it seems that something is like kind of luck, but in fact, it's not, right? It's something that is the result of marketing. So let's keep watching it and we're going to have conversations about it.
So at this point, I started looking at my marketing book in a different way. Instead of learning for my exams or learning in order to help a company, I started learning for myself. I looked at it and I thought, how can I learn from this? What can I learn from these techniques? And I came up with an idea worth spreading. Now, I need to warn you, I'm going to present some theories now. And if you're expecting life-changing knowledge from these theories, I'm sorry to let you down. But if you're guessing that these theories are like empty jars you need to fill with your own knowledge and your own insight, you're an outstanding guesser. So if you study marketing, you're not a stranger to these 4 blocks. They're called the 4 P's and 4 C's of marketing. They're the foundation of every product launch. No product enters the market without filling these 4 blocks. And tonight, we're going to launch you.
Okay, so before going right into more detail, I think that's interesting. Let's talk about this part of the video and perhaps this interesting, let's say, chart, or as he's calling, right, the 4 P's and the 4 C's in marketing. So what can you tell me about this part of the video? It was short, but mostly, Lourdes, if you can tell me something about this little chart over there.
Okay. He started to say that that it's more important learn to oneself, not for other companies, not for because for example, my mom asked me, or because my boss asked me for learn something. I need to better started to learn things to improve ourselves. Well, in that screen, we can see the 4 P's and C's from marketing, that it's the base of marketing. Well, there is for P's, that there is product, then price, promotion, and place. And in In summary, I can say that the product is the tangible, or maybe if we are talking about a service, the 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 product is the service that we are offering to the customer, and it's related with what the customer needs. And then there is the price, that it's the cost for the customer, and not only in a financial way. And we are not only talking about money, we talk about time, about effort, and everything that could be a cost for the customer. Then there is the communication, that the promotion, that it's related with the communication. And we are talking, when we talking about promotion, it's not only the promotion in the word meaning, like 2 for 1 or something like that. It's more like it says the communication, how to communicate your product, your service, and all related with that. And then there is the place, that is where you are going to promote your product or your service. So in the place, it hasn't be a physical place. It could be a page where the customer could buy your product, or could buy your service. So it's where you are going to sell your product, or where are you going to promote your product.
All right, great, perfect. Thanks, because you were able, right, to explain this, and I wanted you to do it, to perhaps go to this part to see how he's going to approach these different ideas. I know that you have knowledge about this, that's why I wanted you to do it. And great, it was interesting, at least the last part, right, in which you were able to tell me that that's not only, right, it doesn't have to be like a physical place, it can be any kind of place, including perhaps a digital one, in which you are going to offer something, right? A good or a service. So let's keep watching, and we're going to see how this guy is going to approach to these 4 P's and 4 C's to understand what's his understanding of this topic.
Launch. No product enters the market without filling these 4 blocks. And tonight we're going to launch you. So the first one is the product and the customer needs. The product are you, yourself, and all the capabilities you have. And the customer needs are the needs of the people you need for your success. And your product has to match these needs. However, customer needs are something really tricky. Because your stated need tonight, for example, for this TEDx event is that you want to be inspired and entertained by great speakers. But then there's something else. There's your unstated secret need. And tonight, I guess, this unstated secret need is that you want to go home afterwards, show your friends these videos, and brag about how sophisticated you are for attending such an event. Am I right? Now, these unstated needs are really hard to find. And if you find this secret need, you can be sure that you have a massive competitive advantage. But I can't tell you what they are. You have to find it yourself. And the only advice I can give you on this is never, ever, ever try Googling them. They are secret needs you don't want to know about. Now, your product has to meet the customer's needs. And most of the time, when you do it for the first time, you will realize that it doesn't. But don't be sad about it, because the process is called R&D, which stands for research and development, and not research and depression. Even though you realize that your product doesn't meet the customer needs, you can still develop. It's never too late for personal development. My grandpa is 83 years old, and he's learning English right now just so he can watch this video. What's your excuse? Now, who in this room ever wanted to be a rock star or famous DJ? That's quite a lot, right? And why shouldn't you? If somebody would come up with a contract and would ask me, you want to sign up to be a rock star? I would take it immediately. All the fame and fortune, fast cars, giving concerts in front of 100,000 people. That would be great. But that's just half of the story. Because who in this audience actually is a rock star? And the reason why so many people fail to become a rock star is the same reason why I never became one. Because when I started playing guitar at the age of 16, this man was my idol. His name is John Butler, here at his own TED Talk in Sydney. And he started playing at the age of 16 as well. Now, how did John Butler become an outstanding guitar player and I didn't? It's because he dedicated himself to it. While I played once or twice a week, he played every free minute. While I was too shy to play in front of people, he went out busking in the streets. And while I played it safe and went to university, he quit university just to pursue a career in music. Now, I'm not trying to inspire anybody to quit their university right away and just go out busking in the streets. But next time you see somebody successful, ask yourself, what are his costs? Because this didn't come for free. There must be some costs behind it. And then ask yourselves, would you be willing to pay it? Because when people are told about the countless hours of practice, the endurance needed, and the risks involved in becoming a rock star, most of them don't want to do it anymore. But if it still sounds tempting to you, you should go for it.
All right. So I'm going to stop there, right? I wanted to stop before, but I think this was part of the example that he wanted to give us, right? Related to price, cost, and this idea right behind the the story that he told us, right, is that we need to do something in order to get something in exchange. But I want you to explain me that, please, Lourdes. What do you get from that like short story that she was or he was telling us related to being a rock star or not, and how is that related to the P's and the C's that he was talking about?
Okay, in the first place, when he started to talk about the product, he refers the product like ourselves, that we have to understand our needs and even our secret needs to improve ourselves. He talked about something, the R&D, that I think that it was the research and development, and he put as an example to his grandfather, that he's learning English in an advanced age. And then he started to talk about the cost and the story about the rock stars. And he said that in that room, maybe there were many people, some people that wanted to be a rock star, but neither, no one of them was actually a rock star. And that's because they maybe didn't spend the time to practice and become a rock star, like here, like his idol do it, because he shows a man, I don't remember the name, but he made the comparison about himself and this other guy that is a rock star. And all started because the idol, the rock star, actually spent the time practicing and trying to performance in everywhere that he could do it. But this guy that is talking is giving the TED talk, didn't do it as the rock star, because maybe it was not his ambition, his first ambition, but he makes the comparison about himself and the rock stars, and the rock star spent half their all cost to be in the place that he is in that moment.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Lourdes. Yes, great. You were able to get all the details, right? Even the details at the beginning. Yes, that was the acronym standing for, right? Research and development. All those things that you must be doing to understand these four P's, these four C's, and the examples that he used. I think you were able to understand them very, very well. And of course, you explained them also very well. Good, right? I remember the first part of the video, sorry, you told me that it was a little bit perhaps tricky to understand this kind of accent, but I think it's just getting used to it, right? Once you get used to this kind of accent, it doesn't matter if he's from Germany or from even India or other places. Once you are listening to these people from anywhere they are for more than 5 minutes, you get used to the variations in vowels, consonants, and it's like very, very easy to understand any kind of accent, just if you give it the time, right, to do it. Again, great job. We're going to be finishing here. Lourdes, thanks for being in this conversation, and I'll see you tomorrow in class. Please remember that the third unit is already on Pearson, and you have until Monday to finish it. All right?
Okay, teacher, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Hello, good evening, Mariana. How are you?
Good evening, teacher. Always well.
That's great. Great to know, Mariana. So let's begin this conversation with you. I'm going to change with you. This is going to be the topic. All right. We're going to talk about bilingual. All right. Being bilingual and the benefits of a bilingual brain. I'm going to show you the first part. I think these are the first 2 minutes. And if we have time, we're going to watch like the part in the middle in which we see the real benefits. But I want you to understand first the introduction. I'm going to play it for you. Tell me, please, everything that you're going to be able to understand. All right?
Okay.
Good. So let's do it.
Hablas español? Parlez-vous français? 你会说中文吗? If you answered sí, oui, or 会, and you're watching this in English, chances are you belong to the world's bilingual and multilingual majority. And besides having an easier time traveling or watching movies without subtitles, knowing 2 or more languages means that your brain may actually look and work differently than those of your monolingual friends. So, what does it really mean to know a language? Language ability is typically measured in 2 active parts, speaking and writing, and 2 passive parts, listening and reading. While a balanced bilingual has near equal abilities across the board in 2 languages, most bilinguals around the world know and use their languages in varying proportions. And depending on their situation and how they acquired each language, they can be classified into 3 general types.
Okay. So before going to that part, that's going to be the second part of our conversation. Tell me, please, Mariana, what you were able to understand in that first part, like the introduction of this video.
Teacher, I don't know how to say the word, but bastante entrecortado. I don't know why, but I
All right.
understand the language. The base of language is writing, speaking, and I don't know what more.
All right. I'm going to try to play it one more time, and I'm going to try to do something. I'm going to see if it works. Give me 1 second. Sometimes it's because of the connection. It doesn't work like that. I'm going to share only the sound of my computer. Okay. You're going to tell me if you're able to hear what I'm going to play for you. All right. So let's do it. Tell me, please, if you can hear it. You can say a little bit baggy or laggy. All right. If it's like that, baggy or laggy. So
Okay.
let's see.
Hablas español? Parlez-vous français? 你会说中文吗? If you answered sí, oui, or 会,
Okay, now how's that? Are you able to understand now in a better
Yes.
way?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, yes, teacher.
now let me keep playing there.
if you answered sí, oui, or 会, and you're watching this in English, chances are you belong to the world's bilingual and multilingual majority. And besides having an easier time traveling or watching movies without subtitles, knowing 2 or more languages means that your brain may actually look and work differently than those of your monolingual friends. So, what does it really mean to know a language? Language ability is typically measured in 2 active parts, speaking and writing, and 2 passive parts, listening and reading. While a balanced bilingual has near equal abilities across the board in 2 languages, most bilinguals around the world know and use their languages in varying proportions. And depending on their situation and how they acquired each language, they can be classified into 3 general types.
All right, and now we stop there because we're going to talk about those 3 types later on. But now let's talk about this introduction, please, Mariana. Just everything that you were able to understand in general about this introduction.
Okay. First, she was talking about when the human can understand very much of languages, like monolingual. I don't know what the word she used, and the language have 4 parts, like reading, writing, speaking, and I don't know what more, but I hear that.
All right, so I have some questions for you then to complement that idea, Mariana. How do you call, all right, how do you call to a person who speaks 2 languages or more, according to this video?
I think that it's bilingual.
Good,
Or,
bilingual. Yes, bilingual, right?
yeah.
Bilingual.
Okay.
And the person who only speaks 1 language,
Monolingual.
yes, they call it monolingual. Very good, yes. And they say that we can understand every language, right, by dividing that language in 2 parts, the active parts and the passive parts, right? Do you remember what were the active parts? It was remembered to the 4 abilities that you were mentioning or the 4 skills.
I think that the active parts are speaking and something like understand. I don't remember the word.
Okay, and what about the passive parts?
It's writing and reading.
All right, so let's pay attention. I'm going to play to that one more time, and we're going to see if that's correct, but I'm not going to tell you the answer. If it's not correct, try to organize that idea one more time. All right, so let's see.
In 2 active parts, speaking and writing, and 2 passive parts, listening and reading.
All right, so those are the parts. I'm going to play just one more time.
Measured in 2 active parts, speaking and writing, and 2 passive parts, listening and reading.
All right, so what are then these parts, Mariana, and why do you believe that they are considered active and passive?
The active are speaking and writing, and the passive are listening and reading. But I think that she refers to passive, that you don't need to like I don't remember, is pensar,
Okay,
like
to think, or
to
what
think.
word do you want to say?
Yeah, like you don't need to think on sentences, or like write or speak. And speak and writing is more active because you need to think and analyze.
Okay, good. Yes, I think that's a very good explanation, Mariana. You're right. They are considered active because you need to produce, you need to express yourself, right? When you speak, of course, you use your own ideas to speak. When you write, you use your own ideas to write. You produce, you create. right? Whereas when you're
Yes.
talking about reading and listening, you don't need to produce or create anything. Of course, many things happen, right, in your head. It's not that it's completely passive, of course, right? But it's just that you read passively because you don't need to create anything, and you listen to the information because you're receiving, right? So in other words, active is when you create and you give information, and passive is when you receive the information, right? Good. So they are explaining this because little by little they want to make us not alright the big aspects of languages and being bilingual or monolingual. Now we're going to go to the interesting part, Marianne. If you want, you can take some notes. We're going to talk about only 3 minutes, but I'm going to play for you at least the first one. All right. There are three types, all right, of being bilingual. Try to explain what is at least the first one about. I'm going to play the first one, and you're going to try to explain that in your own words. All right. So,
They can be classified into three general types. For example, let's take Gabriella, whose family immigrates to the US from Peru when she's 2 years old. As a compound bilingual, Gabriella develops two linguistic codes simultaneously with a single set of concepts, learning both English and Spanish as she begins to process the world around her. Her
all right, that's the first one. I'm going to play it one more time. All right, again, we're learning about types of being bilingual, all right, of bilingual people.
Let's take
Okay.
Gabriella, whose family immigrates to the US from Peru when she's 2 years old. As a compound bilingual, Gabriella develops two linguistic codes simultaneously with a single set of concepts, learning both English and Spanish as she begins to process the world around her. Her teenage
All right, so what do you get about this first type that they explain, Mariana?
She talks about Gabriela, that was a girl who um, who learned two languages at the same time.
Good.
Like I don't know how to say it, but I don't know the word simultáneamente,
Good.
and she can understand, and I think that she can think in when she talks in the two languages.
All right. Okay, good. Yes, that was a very interesting explanation, Mariana. I agree with you. You can say simultaneously. I'm going to play that word one more time for you. They're going to repeat it.
whose family immigrates to the US from Peru when she's 2 years old. As a compound bilingual, Gabriella develops two linguistic codes simultaneously.
All right. So simultaneously. All right. Simultaneously. That's the word. All right. So yes,
Okay.
you're right. Two languages at the same time, simultaneously. It means, right, that same idea, right, happening at the same time. Yes, she is learning two languages, right, simultaneously, and she is learning those two languages, no translating, all right? She is not translating anything. She's only using one set of concepts. It means that she sees, for example, an object, for example, a computer, and she understands, right, what a computer is without translation. Just sees that and she says computer, or she says the word in Spanish, right? So that's the first one. That's the first type, all right? Compound bilingual. I'm going to play only one more until we have the second person, and it's about her brother. All right, the second type is going to talk about her brother. It's the second type of bilingual people. So let's pay attention. It's short again.
With a single set of concepts, learning both English and Spanish as she begins to process the world around her. Her
Okay, here starts the second one.
teenage brother, on the other hand, might be a coordinate bilingual, working with two sets of concepts, learning English in school while continuing to speak Spanish at home and with friends. Finally,
Okay, that was the second one. The first one, all right, the difference also, in the first one, we were talking about a little girl, all right, a child. Here, we're talking about a teenage guy, all right? It's her teenage brother. So let me play it one more time.
Her teenage brother, on the other hand, might be a coordinate bilingual, working with two sets of concepts, learning English in school while continuing to speak Spanish at home and with friends. Finally,
Okay, so what do you understand in this second type of bilingualism, Mariana?
I don't know if I heard well, but I think that she said that he's 1/4 of bilingual, and he speaks Spanish in the school and with his friends, and she learned English in his school.
Okay, okay. Yeah, very close, right? But he's learning, right, and speaking English perhaps at school, and he goes home and speaks Spanish perhaps at home, right? It happens a lot when you go to the US, right? There are many people in the United States who are from many parts of the world, and it happens a lot with people who are from Latin America. They go to the US and they speak English at work and at school, but when they go home, they only speak Spanish, right? So that's happening with this teenage guy. I'm going to repeat the words so that we can get them. It's going to be coordinate, okay? Coordinate bilingual. He is coordinate.
Okay.
working with two sets of concepts,
The difference between the first one, right? In the first one, the little girl only works with one set of concepts. It means it's one concept for the word in Spanish and the word in English, no translations. This guy, all right, this teenage guy is using two sets of concepts. It means that he has one concept for Spanish and one concept for English,
learning English in school while continuing
right? He is learning English, right, in school, but he continues to do what?
to speak Spanish at home and with friends.
Right? But of course, he has friends who speak Spanish, and of course, in his family, they speak Spanish. So, to finish this conversation, please, Mariana, how can you summarize then the first two types of bilingual, Mariana?
I don't know what means the word summarize, teacher.
Summarize is like do it shortly, like with very few words. Try to explain the two, all right, the two bilingual in your own words and in a short way, all right. That's more or less the summary. A summary, all right, is saying things shortly, all right, shortly. That's more or less
Okay,
the idea.
I think that the girl has how do you say, has just one concept when she analyze one object or see one object. She thinks like um, simultaneously with the two languages, and the boy needs to translate to understand.
Okay,
Like,
okay, good.
yes, like it's like she have just he sorry, she have the two languages, like uh, like I don't know how to say desde,
You can say since. It depends. It
since she
depends on the
born.
tense.
Okay,
Okay, since
since she born, and he learned after that. He just won one language, and he learned the other in the school.
okay, good. Only
And
one little detail over there. You're right. But in this case, yes, he has two sets of concepts, but he is not going to have the need of translation. But yes, when he speaks Spanish, he has his own concepts for Spanish, and when he speaks English, he has his own concepts for English, right? But in this type, because we have one more, we're not watching this today. We're going to watch in the next conversation. The third type, yes, the third type needs translation all the time. But this type, the second type, he doesn't need translation, but he speaks Spanish like in a very different way and English in a very different way because he has two sets of concepts. All right, that's the only thing that I would add over there, Mariana. I don't know if you get that difference over there.
Yes, yes, I really understand.
Okay, good. Then which one of we have these two, and we have the third one that I told you, all right, that it's the one that needs translation. Which one do you believe that you are, Mariana, and why?
I think that I am the second, but I don't know. I think that I am not anyone, but I am like the second because I am learning and I am still learning, but my native language is Spanish.
Okay, okay, good. We're going to watch one more, right? Next class. Perhaps that one is going to let you know if you're the third one or the second one. But yes, it's interesting to analyze, right, what kind of bilingual we can be and see the characteristics that we may have with that. I don't know if you have any final questions or comments before finishing this, Mariana. We use more time, but I wanted to speak about this. Any questions or comments?
No, teacher, I really don't have. How I said, I understand, but I think that I understand well, but when I'm trying to speak, it's hard for me.
Yes, but you're doing a great job, Mariana, because you are able to express yourself. Sometimes it feels that it's hard, but you have to keep going,
Yes.
right? It feels hard, but keep doing it. You're doing a good job. Sometimes you ask me for some words. I'm always going to help you with that, but keep doing it. You're doing it great. Just one more correction that I have for you. It's going to help you out also with the speaking and expression. You said since born, right? But you cannot say since she born. You have to say since she was born. Okay, you have to use the verb to be.
Okay.
All right, but that's it. Then let's finish here, Mariana. Thanks for being in this conversation, and I'll see you tomorrow in class. Remember that Unit 3 it's on Pearson already, and you can complete it until Monday. All right.
Okay, teacher. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye bye. Hello, good evening, Luciana. How are you?
Hi, teacher. Good evening.
Hello, good evening. All right, I was taking advantage, all right? I had like a longer conversation with Mariana while I was waiting for you, but now let's have this conversation with you. You know that we are watching videos and so on. Now I'm going to try to do something, all right? Right now I'm sharing like the audio, all right, my computer's audio, so that we can have this
Okay.
conversation, but it's going to be only listening this time, all right?
Okay.
It's going to be only listening to see how we're going to be working with that. I know that sometimes, of course, the video helps a lot. I know that you have very good skills, but let's see how it goes like this. All right, we're going to continue watching the last video. I don't know if you remember the last topic.
Yes, I remember. Sorry, my sister was talking.
Don't worry.
I remember the last video is that were about music, right?
Okay, correct, exactly. We're learning some basic right stuff related to reading music, right? Sheet music and so on. I don't know if you remember, but the last part was about the staff, right? 5 lines, 4 spaces, and you read it right up and down and left to right. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to play that part one more time and I'm going to keep going and you're going to tell me everything that you can understand. All right.
Okay.
And let me go to that introduction, the stuff. Here it is. So let's pay attention to the music notation and the stuff one more time.
Art. Music is written on 5 parallel lines that go across the page. These 5 lines are called a staff, and a staff operates on 2 axes, up and down and left to right. The up and down axis tells the performer the pitch of the note, or what note to play, and the left to right axis tells the performer the rhythm of the note, or when to play it.
Okay, there we have extra information. So before going to the next part, I would like that this part of the stuff is clear. I'm going to play it one more time, and you're going to tell me what you know when you read it up and down, and what you know when you read it left to right.
Music is written on 5 parallel lines that go across the page. These 5 lines are called a staff, and a staff operates on 2 axes, up and down and left to right. The up and down axis tells the performer the pitch of the note, or what note to play, and the left to right axis tells the performer the rhythm of the note, or when to play it.
Good. So what can you tell me about this, right? The first part you already told me, but what else can you tell me about the staff? What happens when you read up and down? What do you read there? And what do you read, or what do you know when you read this left to right?
Okay, when you read the note up and down, it tells you what note to play. And when you do it on the side, left to right or right to left, tells you what rhythm have that note.
Okay, what do you mean? What does it tell you when you read it left to right?
The rhythm,
Okay, the rhythm, right? The rhythm.
Rhythm.
Okay, good. Exactly. It means when to play it, right? The rhythm of the music. Correct. Good. Let's continue.
Let's start with pitch. To help us out, we're going to use a piano, but this system works for pretty much any instrument you can think of. In the Western music tradition, pitches are named after the first 7 letters of the alphabet: A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. After that, the cycle repeats itself: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so on. But how do these pitches get their names? Well,
Okay, until that part, because I know without the video, they are exemplifying this. What were you able to get in that part, Luciana?
I was able to understand that it repeats 2 times the letters to A to the last letter, and then is when I don't understand so much because I was not able to hear it so good.
Okay, I'm going to play it one more time, and I'm going to help you. First, they are talking about one important word, pitch. Do you know what's the meaning of pitch?
Is rhythm.
Reading. It can be related to reading. Yes, when you read, of course, you have to read like the pitch, but pitch is something more specific. For example, in singing, what is pitch for you in singing or in music specifically?
Mm, I'm really not sure. Maybe it's the tone that you give.
Okay, it can be related sometimes to the tone, but most of the times, I'm going to help you with that. I'm sharing now my screen one more time. The pitch, look, I'm going to show you one more time the staff. That's the word, right? Pitch. So when you have this, right, and it says the rhythm left to right is going to tell you when, but the pitch, this is the pitch, up and down, tells you what note. So pitch can be the note, but also when the note is here, it's going to be low, right? And when it's here, it's going to be high. All right, so that's the pitch. The pitch is going to be the note.
Tells you if the note is high or low.
Yes, exactly. It's the note, and if the note is going to be low or high, correct. Now, with that explanation, they are going to explain this. Because of time, we're going to have this 1 minute or 2 minutes. But look, pitch. Pay attention, and you're going to tell me, yes, they use the letters of the alphabet, but in a very specific way. Pay attention.
to help us out, we're going to use a piano, but this system works for pretty much any instrument you can think of. In the Western music tradition, pitches are named after the first 7 letters of the alphabet: A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. After that, the cycle repeats itself: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so on. But how do these pitches get their names?
All right, so that was that part. So what do you get then on that part, right? They're talking about pitches.
In that part, I was able to understand that have the 7 letters of the first 7 letters of the alphabet, and when you put the seventh letter, is like the cycle repeats. You start again, and then before that you pause the video, it was talking about how you know the name of that pitches.
Exactly. Good. Exactly. And then that's what they're going to explain later on, right? So this is really interesting because this is the way all instruments at least in Western tradition, as he's saying, right, work in terms of pitches. It goes again from A to G, and you very well said it. The cycle, right, repeats, and it goes on, and it depends how big the instrument is, right, or how flexible the instrument is. You're going to be able to play very low notes or very high notes, right, according to the instrument. So we're not going to be able to watch a little bit more, but I have a question there for you in general about this. How much, well, you told me, right, about the instrument, the idea of playing an instrument. This is how to read an instrument with all this little knowledge that you have about the stuff, about the reading this from left to right, up and down, and so on, how hard do you think that reading music is, Luciana? And how much time do you think that you need, all right, of practice to learn how to read sheet music?
I think that it's not an easy job because maybe is a little too much of theory respect how to read the notes. But I think that if you have like, I think that if you have every day a class respective, maybe you can learn in 1 month the basic if you have like a class every day.
Okay, good. Yes, that's a really interesting answer. I agree with you. If you practice right every day, you have a daily practice, this is easier to do. So good. Let's finish here. All right. Again, because of time, we're not going to be able to work more. Please, Luciana, remember that the third unit is already there, ready to take it. You have until Monday to do it. And tomorrow I'll be seeing you in class. Okay?
Okay, thank you, teacher.
You're welcome. Have a good night. Bye bye.
Bye.
Hello, good evening, Whitney. How are you?
Hello, teacher.
Hi, how are you? Is everything okay?
Yes, thank you.
That's great. So let's begin with today's conversation. With me, we're going to be talking about bilingual with you. So let's begin by this introduction. But let me ask you something. I think that with you, right, because of that day, we were not able to watch the four patterns of lying. Did we watch the four patterns? I think only the first two, right, with me about lying.
Um, um,
Because we were talking about the first pattern was related to third person, right? Liars don't talk about themselves, they talk about others, they use third person. And the second pattern was related to being negative, right? It means being aggressive because they feel guilty in a subconscious level. I think those are the two that we got to watch, right? Or did we get to watch the other two as well with you? With
uh,
tell me, Whitney, I couldn't hear that.
I think that is my microphone. Yes.
Yes, I don't know. It's weird. I hear you, but sometimes it's like you stop talking. But I hear you now. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay. So what did you say, Whitney? I couldn't get that.
Um, it's about of what video to watch.
Yes, no, I was asking you, right? We were talking about lying. Do you remember? There's four patterns, right, to identify a liar. I think with
Yes.
you, we only got to watch two patterns, right? Two out
Yes.
of the four patterns. So there are two missing. All right. So good. Let's go there then. Remember the two patterns I already gave you like the summary. Remember the first one, they talk more about others. They use third person. The second one, they are negative, a little bit aggressive because they feel guilty. Now we have two more. Let's play these two. Uh, Some advice for the third one and the fourth one, Whitney. Please pay attention to the first 2 or 3 seconds because actually the main idea of the third one is in the first 2 or 3 seconds.
Okay.
After that, it's only explaining the opposite. And sometimes they hear the opposite word so many times and they say that the third pattern is that word, but actually it's the opposite. All right. So the answer is in the first seconds, and then it's only explaining the opposite. So let's listen to it, please.
Liars typically explain events in simple terms.
Okay, a little bit later.
Liars typically explain events in simple terms, since our brains struggle to build a complex lie. Judgment and evaluation are complex things for our brains to compute. As a US president once famously insisted, I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Okay, that's the third one. I'm going to play it one more time so that we can work on that.
Third, liars typically explain events in simple terms, since our brains struggle to build a complex lie. Judgment and evaluation are complex things for our brains to compute. As a US president once famously insisted, I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Good. So this is the third pattern. What do you get about this one, Whitney?
Okay, the third pattern is lies explained in simple terms without strong words.
Okay, without what kind of words? Sorry.
Without strong lies or strong words.
Okay,
Complex
strong.
words.
Okay, good, good. Yes, yes, that word is very well related. Complex one, good. Now, were you able to hear what's the reason behind it? Why do liars, right, explain everything in simple terms and they don't use complex ones?
Mm,
What do you think is the reason?
in my opinion,
It
or
can be
about the video.
yes, it will be accurate about the video, but if you couldn't hear it, you can give your opinion as well.
Okay, I think because it's better when the lies is simple, and if someone use a complex sentence, maybe could be discovered.
Okay, incorrect. All right, good. That's a great logic. I agree with you. And actually, that's one of the reasons that they're going to say yes. It's better to keep it simple because if not, right, complex ideas need more time, right? Because you need to think of possibilities of many things related to time, to place, and you can make mistakes. And many things can be incorrect, and people can realize that you are lying, right? Or that that person is lying. So let me play it one more time and try to get what's the video's reason. All right, there's a very specific reason that is related to what you said, Whitney, but the reason is very specific. It's also related to the word complex. So let's pay attention.
Liars typically explain events in simple terms, since our brains struggle to build a complex lie. Judgment and evaluation are complex things for our brains to compute.
All right, the reason must be there. I'm going to play it once again.
That thing. Third, liars typically explain events in simple terms, since our brains struggle to build a complex lie. Judgment and evaluation are complex things for our brains to compute.
Okay, so what do you get there then, Whitney, in terms of the explanation? Why liars, right, keep only simple terms?
Okay, I don't know if it's correct, but I think that they evaluate the building of their lies.
All right, yeah, they talk about two terms, right? In this last part, in which they show these pictures, right, they explain that two processes are very complex, and that's also part of the reason. Let's listen
Since our brains struggle to build a complex lie.
here.
Judgment and evaluation are
All right, and actually, this is part of the reason. All right, it's not that liars evaluate. No, it says that judgment and evaluation in general are complex things for our brains to compute. All right, and judgment and evaluation are things that you need when you want to build up complex ideas. For example, a complex lie. But also the beginning of that word, it's here in captions. Remember that the word since is similar to because.
Simple terms, since our brains struggle to build a complex lie.
And actually the reason is there, all right? Since our brains, right, struggle to what?
Terms, since our brains struggle to build a complex lie.
All right, a complex lie. Since our brain struggle to build a complex lie. So this is one question for you, Whitney. What is the meaning of a struggle? Do you know that word?
I think that is like a complex.
Can be something related to complex, but this is a verb, right? To struggle is going to be a verb. So how can you use it as a verb?
Or hard.
Yeah, it's more related to that. A struggle, if it's a verb, is to have problems, to have difficulties because something is hard, right? Or, of course, not easy to do. Yes, but struggle itself is having problems or having difficulties with something, right? That's to the struggle. So the reason behind it is that they use simple terms. Why? Because our brains have problems, have difficulties to build complex lies. And why? Because they say, right, judgment and evaluation are complex things to compute. It means to create. That's why liars keep it simple. We have one more. And then after that one, you're going to explain the two. All right? Let's watch the fourth one. It's very short and it's related to the third one. Be careful because it seems that is contrary to the third one, but actually they work together. All right? So let's pay attention.
That woman. And finally, even though liars keep descriptions simple, they tend to use longer and more convoluted sentence structure, inserting unnecessary words and irrelevant but factual sounding details in order to pad the lie. Another president confronted with a scandal proclaimed, "I can say categorically that this investigation indicates that no one on the White House staff, no one in this administration presently employed was involved in this very bizarre incident."
All right? That's the fourth one and that's the last one. Let me play it once again.
And finally, even though liars keep descriptions simple, they tend to use longer and more convoluted sentence structure, inserting unnecessary words and irrelevant but factual sounding details in order to pad the lie. Another president confronted with a scandal proclaimed, "I can say categorically that this investigation indicates that no one on the White House staff, no one in this administration presently employed was involved in this very bizarre incident."
All right. So what do you get then from this four pattern, Whitney?
Okay. The lies should be short because it's unnecessary a lot of words or details.
Okay, but what liars do? Yes, you're right.
Lies.
Right? Well, the lies should be short. You're right. But what do liars do? Right? Do liars really keep it short? Or do liars use those unnecessary words that you were mentioning?
Keeps the lions keeps keep to tend to be short.
All right. So let's listen one more time, and we're going to see. All right, that part.
Liars keep descriptions simple.
Right at the beginning, they start with this.
And finally, even though liars keep descriptions simple,
right? Even though, that's a word that is going to tell us some concession or contrast. So, yes, liars keep terms simple, but, right? We have a but, we have a however.
They tend to use longer and more convoluted sentence structure.
Actually, right? Even though liars use simple terms, they use longer ideas, all right? They don't use short ideas. They use long ideas, but they are not complex. They are what? You're going to hear?
Inserting unnecessary words in a
right? So liars, yes, use unnecessary words.
Relevant but factual sounding.
Irrelevant words, but factual sounding words, it means they sound good. They sound like they are true, but they are not.
Details in order to pad the lie.
Right? In order to pad the lie. So actually, liars don't say something short. They speak a lot sometimes because they say unnecessary, irrelevant information, all right, to appear that the lie is complex and to make us think that that's true. And they give the example, right?
Another president confronted with a scandal proclaimed,
For example, this is an example, right? And this is a president who was lying. And look, this sentence is not going to be short, it's going to be long, but he's repeating the same idea many times.
I can say categorically that this investigation indicates that no one on the White House staff, no one in this administration presently employed was involved in this very bizarre incident.
All right. He could only have said no one was involved. That's it. But he used many, many words, right, to give that idea. So, with that extra explanation, please, Whitney, I want you to tell me the two last patterns, please, in your own words. Patterns number 3 and 4 about lying.
Okay. Okay. The third parent. Sorry, I can pronounce correct the word.
That's going to be. You can do it part by part. You can say first pattern, then dern, pattern, pattern.
Parent.
Pattern,
Parent.
like D, more like D. Pattern, pattern. I'm going to help you with this. Look at the chat. Try to pronounce it like this. Pattern,
Okay.
like that. It's in the chat.
Pattern. Oh,
Pattern.
okay.
Good.
Pattern. Okay. Okay. The third patterns is explained in simple terms, and the last patterns tends to be simple because the line is long because use necessary words.
Yes. So yeah, the third one, right? It's simple. And what was the reason behind it, Whitney? Why do liars use simple terms?
Because when there is a lot of words or more explanations, could have more mistakes.
Okay, exactly, and could be more difficult, right? It means our brain struggle, right? Good. And also, you said that they use long ideas because they use unnecessary words, right, and irrelevant information. Good. That's it then, Whitney. We're going to be finishing here. Remember, please, that the third unit is already on Pearson. You can finish that unit until Monday at 11:59 p.m. All right?
Okay. Thank
Good.
you, teacher.
Thank you. Have a good night. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hello, good evening, Melissa. How are you?
Hello, teacher. How are you? I'm good.
Hi. Great. That's great to know, Melissa. Let's continue this conversation with you. Remember that we were taking a look at some ideas, right, of how reading music. I think we're going to finish watching this because we have some interesting vocabulary to learn. I don't know if you can remember very well the last video, but I would like you to give me, please, a short summary of all the elements that you can remember related to this video, please, Melissa.
Okay, well, the video was about notation, how American music has the notes in letters, in the first letters of the alphabet, from A to G. And we also saw the staff and how the clefs tell us where the notes are, because there are a lot of notes. And we also saw terms like clef, ledger lines. Also we saw how through the staff and the clef we know where or how to play the notes, because, for example, a piano has a lot of keys, like 84, and through the clef we can know where to start to play the notes. And also we saw how the sheet music can tell the musician what to play and when to play it.
Good, great. Thank you very much, Melissa. I think that was a great summary. Yes, you mentioned all the things. Remember, we also saw terms like pitch, right? What pitch is, and rhythm that is related to reading the stuff, right? That's perfect. Now, I'm going to start from this part. Perhaps we're going to watch one more time what a clef is, but it's important to watch it again to continue, all right? So let's keep paying attention, and I'm going to be asking some questions.
Staff. We use something called a clef. A clef is a weird-looking figure placed at the very beginning of the staff, and it acts like a reference point telling you that a particular line or space corresponds to a specific note on your instrument. If we want to play notes that aren't on the staff, we kind of cheat and draw extra little lines called ledger lines and place the notes on them. If we have to draw so many ledger lines that it gets confusing, then we need to change to a different clef. As for telling a performer when to play the notes, two main elements control this: the beat and the rhythm. The beat of a piece of music is...
Okay, before going there, right? I know that we watched already the part about clef, but we didn't watch the other clefs that we may have. So what is the explanation, Melissa, on how we need to use other clefs? Why don't we only use the G clef or the treble clef? Why do we need other clefs?
I'm not sure, but I think it's, for example, in the piano, I thought that in the video they mentioned that one staff and one clef is for one for the right hand, and the other one is for the left. One is for the right hand, and the other one is for the left hand. And I think it's also because the clef tell us the key, I don't know if that's the word, of the sound that we will get by playing the notes in that pitch, or in that or with that clef. For example, it's not the same a G than an, I don't remember if it's F or G, the other one. But I think it's for, because the sound is different, and also if you will play with two hands an instrument.
Okay, yes, good. It's related to that indeed. The piano, as we mentioned, right, very well, needs like two different clefs, right? You can call the clefs in two different ways. This clef, right, the first one that they show you, let's go back. And actually here they're showing you the, right? Let's analyze them. We have these three that are the three clefs that we still use today: the treble clef, the bass clef, and the alto clef. The treble is also called the G clef, right? The bass clef is also called the F clef, and the alto clef is also called the C clef, all right? And yes, behind it is the treble clef is going to be for your right hand, right? And the bass clef is going to be for your left hand. That's for the piano, right? But they give you also one extra reason of why doing that. Look here. What are they doing? They are adding ledger lines. But look, there are so many ledger lines. If you see, for example, what is this note? If you want to know what this note is, you have to go up and you need to look for the reference, G. But you need to count, this is G, A, tan, 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 here. So they say, in order not to add too many ledger lines, instead of doing this, you can add an extra, right, staff, and add a different clef. That's why, for example, you use two clefs in piano. Why? Because until this part, this is C, and this is going to be the C that is in the middle of the piano. All right, this is like C3. And this C is like on the top of the F clef. Okay, so you have the G clef that is in the upper part, and this is middle C. And you have the F clef that is going to have the middle C up there. So the notes are going to go up and down, and you're not going to need ledger lines, all right? That's also the function of clefs. Instead of adding ledger lines, you simply can add a different clef so that you can understand and read music better without looking for the note that is too far from it, all right? And I'm going to try to look for an example. Give me 1 second. I don't know if you have any comments or questions about this, Melissa. Let me know if you do, please.
No, it's okay.
All right. Give me 1 second. I'm looking for this example and sheet music to understand that part even better. Because only by seeing this piano, right, sheet music, it's going to be better to understand. So let me open this one over here. Okay, so let me share one more time. So there you go, right? I looked only for sheet music, and this is, for example, something related to the piano. So as you can see, the clef, right, that is the treble clef, it's always going to be on the upper part. And the bass clef, it's always going to be, right, down the treble clef. And they are going to share some notes. For example, that note is the middle C, and that note over there is also the middle C. It means it's the same key. But of course, if you want to play notes that are below the C, right, that middle C, you're going to write them in the bass clef. And if you want to play notes that are up, right, or above the C, the treble or the middle C, you're going to write those notes in the treble clef, right? So bass and treble. That's the main idea behind it. So with that extra thing, let's go back to the explanation. And now let's go to rhythm and beat. Let's see what they're going to see about it. And there you go.
The notes. Two main elements control this: the beat and the rhythm. The beat of a piece of music is, by itself, kind of boring. It sounds like this. Notice that it doesn't change, it just plods along quite happily. It can go slow, or fast, or whatever you like really. The point is that just like the second hand on a clock divides 1 minute into 60 seconds, with each second just as long as every other second, the beat divides a piece of music into little fragments of time that are all the same length. Beats. With a steady beat as a foundation, we can start adding rhythm to our pitches, and that's when music really starts to happen. This is a quarter note. It's the most basic unit of rhythm, and it's worth 1 beat. This is a half note, and it's worth 2 beats. This whole note here is worth 4 beats, and these little guys are eighth notes, worth half a beat each. Great, you say. What does that mean?
All right, so until that part, we have that new information. What can you tell me about this part of the video, Melissa? I'm not going to ask anything specific.
I understood that the beat can be, I don't know the word, the beat can be identified by the notes, like the, I don't remember the word, like flat, that that means 1 beat, the whole means 4, the other ones means half a beat, and the other one, in Spanish is the white. I think it means like 2. I don't remember. And the
Okay.
for example, the rhythm, or the rhythm can change. It can be slow or it can be fast.
Okay, good. Yes, actually, what can change also the rhythm, yes, changes. But remember, mainly they were talking about the beat, right? Yes, so the beat can be right slow, can be fast, and according to the change, right, of the pace of the beat, the rhythm is going to go there. So yes, you were describing that well. And look, it's even easier than in Spanish. And I'm going to tell you why. If you think of these figures like this, for example, the bigger one is whole, right? Whole is going to be 4. We're going to organize this in a better way. You're going to see that it's easier than Spanish. So here, right? Let's start by this one. Here it's not organized. So the bigger one is whole, right? Four beats. This one half, 2 beats. So whole, it's one thing that is complete. Half, 2 beats. Quarter, right? 1 beat. Eighth, right? It's like only half beat. Then you start dividing this. For example, after this, you have the 16th. All right. And after the 16th, you have the 32nd note. And then after the 32nd note, you have the 64th note. So you only divide. You divide this. So this is whole, half, quarter, eighth, 16th, 32nd, right? 64th, etc., etc. So it's like you are dividing the notes, and you're dividing from the one that has more beats to the ones that only have like half beats or a quarter beat, right? Or an eighth beat, and so on and so forth. So yes, and this is part of reading. Let's see what they say about the next part, all right? How to understand this idea, this over here.
You might have noticed that across the length of a staff, there are little lines dividing it into small sections. These are bar lines, and we refer to each section as a bar. At the beginning of a piece of music, just after the clef, is something called the time signature, which tells the performer how many beats are in each bar. This says there are 2 beats in each bar, this says there are 3, this one 4, and so on. The bottom number tells us what kind of note is to be used as the basic unit for the beat. 1 corresponds to a whole note, 2 to a half note, 4 to a quarter note, an eighth to an eighth note, and so on. So this time signature here tells us that there are 4 quarter notes in each bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. But like I said before, if we just stick to the beat, it gets kind of boring. So we'll replace some quarter notes with different rhythms. Notice that even though the number of notes in each bar has changed, the total number of beats in each bar hasn't. So, what?
All right. So about that part, right? We're adding new elements. What are those elements that you were able to get, Melissa?
Time signatures. There are 2 numbers. The bottom one which note has, and the top, the number in the top tell us how many beats are for how many. Yes, I think it's beats for each bar. For example, we saw that each bar has 4 beats, and even if you change the note, the total would be still 4. For example, in the video, 4 on the first bar and 4 in the last one, and the lines that divide the staff are called bar lines.
Good. Perfect.
And
yes.
the numbers at the beginning tell us how many times everything.
Correct. Exactly. That was great. So we learned about bars, right? Bar lines, time signature, right? And yes, you said it very well. The one on the bottom is going to tell us, right, what note we need to play. And the one on the top is going to tell us, right, how many beats that a note is supposed to be repeated. 4, but you can use many notes over there, right? And this is going to be the last conversation related to this video, please. We're going to watch also this part about this last part that we need to know, and that's it.
What does our musical creation sound like? Sounds okay, but maybe a bit thin, right? Let's add another instrument with its own pitch and rhythm. Now it's sounding like music. Sure, it takes some practice to get used to reading it quickly and playing what we see on our instrument, but with a bit of time and patience, you could be the next Beethoven. Or Justin Bieber.
Okay, they didn't explain that actually, but the one that is missing, that it's something that you mentioned before, this one is called the key signature. All right, so here you have parts of the staff, right? You have the staff, you have the clef, you have the key signature, you have the time signature, you have bars, you have bar lines, and you have notes over there. So we're going to finish here, but please, I would like you to give me a very short summary of all the information that you were able to get related to reading music, please, Melissa. Very shortly. For example, if you can identify one more time the parts that you see here, or actually, we're going to do this better. Showing you this one over here. Let me see if this is going to load. Just try to identify the elements that you can see, and if you remember the name of the notes that you can also see. I'm going to see if it's possible. If not, I'm going to try to make this big. Let me see if it's going to work. It's the same over here. Okay, I think it worked. This one. All right. So let's work with this, please, Melissa. What elements can you identify over here? If you remember the name of the notes, you can tell me the parts of the, well, whatever it is called. Tell me everything that you can see here, please.
Okay. First, I see in total 6 staffs. It's for piano because it has the two different clefs. The first one is the G clef, the treble clef. The other one is the F clef. We see that I think that each bar is for three beats, like we see in the top number of the G clef. And for example, I think it's the notes are there are 3 notes for each bar, and it begins with, I think it's D. I'm not the first note is D because the G clef it starts with a G, and I think it's G.
Okay, we can go together.
I'm not
That's
sure
great.
what notes are.
So let's go, right? So on the second line, that's G, right? After G, you go to
Yes.
A one more time, right? A. Then the line is going to be B. Remember that the lines also. And after B, you're going to have
Yeah.
C. All right, so that's going to be a C,
C.
right? Do you see? So the second line is G, the space is going to be A, the line is going to be B, and the space is going to be C. So this note is going to be a C. Okay, good, good, that's great. Do you remember what's the name of this note? How do you call this note? I mean, not the pitch, right? The name of this figure. Do you remember?
It would be
it starts with
it
Q.
would be a half.
Close. That's going to be
Quarter.
half. This is
a quarter.
Quarter, exactly. Quarter. Good. So if this is quarter, what are going to be these two? You have to divide it.
A half.
It's going to be like the opposite, right? This is going to be half. But if you divide a quarter, it's going to be it's like the double even. It starts with E, right? It's going to be eighth, right? So these are going to be eighth. Exactly. So you have
Eight.
quarters, you have eighths,
Quarters,
and you have
eights,
halves, right?
halves.
That's mostly what you have here. If you see, there are no wholes, and there are not like other notes. Those are the ones that you have, but that's great. And then you have the other elements. That's good. That's interesting. I think it's good that you're able to do that. I know that we use more time, Melissa. Sorry for that, but we're finishing here. I don't know if you have any extra questions or comments before finishing.
No, it's okay. Thank you
Perfect.
for giving me more time.
Then, you're welcome, Elisa. I hope you have a great night, and I'll see you tomorrow in class. Remember that the third unit is already on Pearson to complete it until Monday, all right? Good night. See you tomorrow.
Okay.